Welcome guys, so it's good to be back. Just going to do a short video today, just explaining a bit about what's going on. This new message has just come through, which is great, shedding 3D. Again, it's just another little step that we can work on. I wasn't too sure what was going to come through. I was quite surprised, but it was a good message. So I just want to sort of recap, again with the fatigue, the pains in the body, more and more people I'm talking to on a day-to-day basis, it's really augmenting in their personal lives. Again, it's just not tying into the story and just sort of come out of the story, come out of your own story, because it's not something the mind can understand. And also we are shifting things very deeply on an unconscious level. And the conscious mind, the ego mind doesn't understand it, and it can cause a lot of fear and despair. And there's been a lot of grief and despair coming up lately. And it's also because what's happening is that the 3D model is starting to shatter. And this message talks about the two streams of 3 and 4D starting to branch off. And that's going to come in and around January. We'll explain a little bit more. I touched on the reptilian brain last message. So we will be doing this in the second part of the modality, and that video will be coming out. I've almost done the video now. I've almost finished it, so it'll be coming out this week or early next week. And dates will be in January sometime. But the reptilian aspect will be in the second part, because it's designed to keep you in fear and stuck in 3D. So there's a low-grade frequency that's been placed in our reptilian brain, which is our flight, survival response. And it dies down the inspiration and ability to think for ourselves. And it feeds the negative ego, the ego with despair, causing us to question everything, causing us into a divide. And it sort of seeks dominance and control. So it's actually, the rage around this frequency in the brain is actually from Mars. So it's asking us to start looking at the consciousness of the planets and how they're affecting us and what's been left over, because this dominance and control, and like they said, aren't we always battling ourselves? Because there's a despair and loneliness in the Mars energy that actually sits within our own consciousness, and it stops large volumes of recorded history, causing us to, our truth, our universal connection, which causes us to capitulate unconsciously. And it's all been designed that way. So what's happening now, my spirit gave this to us, and they actually told me I was going to put this in the first part though, but they said the emotional body has to be in balance and grounded into the earth before you can start working on this part, because the fear and despair that it brings up can be tremendous in a lot of people. So we have to start releasing the emotional hold first. So like I said, I'll be talking a bit more about that, but there are things that are within our consciousness, our pineal, our hypothalamus, and our reptilian brain that are going to start to unfold. Information is going to be coming out, and we're going to start releasing the magnetism that's kept us in servitude, that's kept our senses numbed down. So this is going to be very interesting. So I'm looking forward to sharing all that with you guys as well. Okay, so I want to read this message, and this was channeled today. Shedding 3D. All right. So, control, power, and dominance is the ultimate 3D weapon. And you have all participated in this realm of illusion in more ways than you know. Everything in your society is built around these 3 words, these 3 energies. Either in your own relationship to yourself, your parental upbringing, your schooling, your government rule, and your relationships. They all involve these 3 energies, whether it's 1, 2, or all 3 of them. Now, we would like you to look at these energies in your own lives, and we want you to bring the feminine aspects of these male energies into your arenas. Control becomes surrender. Power becomes empowered. And dominance becomes a quality. And when you can surrender to the feminine, which is also your soul, you become empowered. And when you are empowered, you see all society as equal, with no need to dominate another. And when you realize equality brings a foundation of peace, you can then take your race forward in union with other planetary races without the need to attack or dominate. If you can all close your eyes for a second and invoke the individual consciousness of each word, surrender, empowerment, and equality, and allow the consciousness of each word to sit within your auric field, you can then start to magnetize the very essence and love that these energies, these words, are gifting to humanity. Going around blaming one another will no longer serve you. You cannot stay in reaction. You must take responsibility for everyone in your life, including those you most dislike, because it's all been generated from misunderstanding why you were even in battle in the first place. It's time to work out your differences, reach out where needed, end all these endless cycles, your hates and dislikes, with the intention of finding compassion for yourself so you may give it to another. Soften your approach to life. Don't take everything so seriously, and give time to listen to your own inner child's needs. The iceberg is starting to break up, and the stream of fourth density consciousness is starting to divide itself, which means that those that are on the path, listening, surrendering, empowering themselves, are starting to move and meld into the 4D stream. And you will soon witness a divide within your societies, your friends, countries, etc. And it won't be a negative experience, but rather you will think, feel differently to them, and your actions and motives will be different, and that is okay. So it's now time to let go of procrastination and take the time to integrate the 3 words. Take time to feel them, their consciousness, their love, and all will then start to align naturally. So, a good top up, and like I said, it's just setting the intention, because we are in a society where we have to go out, do action, create male energy, strive, struggle, stress to get what we need, but that's not how it works anymore. And the feminine does not work like that. And the feminine is reintegrating, as we've talked about many times. So it's about just setting the intention, and that's what we'll do. What will happen then is your soul will then provide each step, and then you just need to surrender in the moment. So you need to be very present at the moment with what's going on. Don't forget the past, and don't even think about the future, because the future is being shaped right now in the present moment. So, and if you've listened to any of the other videos, you understand that, Spirit and our ET brotherhood that's looking after this planet are taking care of all the negative stuff, and they just want us to focus on us, because again, our society is still being plugged too much into that conspiracy and social media, and we're getting pulled out of our emotional bodies. And another good thing about the lockdown was we allowed ourselves to not be around frenetic people so much, so it gave us a time to integrate our own emotional bodies. And yes, it did bring up a lot of despair and a lot of fear and panic, and that is okay, because that's something we needed to feel and experience. That is still continuing. In actual fact, it's got a lot stronger, because there had to be a second wave of spiritual consciousness, which was in the form of a lockdown, to allow people that time to integrate, because the energies, like I said, are really going to start splitting form from January. And this is also why we're bringing the modality out then, and the teachings, but also this thing I said about the brain, because the planets are starting to change their energy as well. So the old astrology model will be changing as well, because when it was created, our consciousness was much lower. So the frequencies are changing now, and it's changing how we work with planets and essences, and the frequencies actually on the planet. But that was, that thing about the reptilian brain with that energy of Mars, people wouldn't normally understand that. But we have a huge connection to Mars, and there was a lot of humans living on Mars many thousands of years ago. And obviously there was a lot of destruction there where they talked about the Great War. And again, we don't need to get into this, but what we do need to understand is that the frequencies of these planets are trying to connect with us, because they each hold a frequency that will unlock us and open us up to universal intelligence, higher consciousness. And that is why we need to let go of these control mechanisms, because the Mars energy seeks dominance and control, as I said, and it leads to war and survival response, and that is why we are always battling ourselves. The frequency of that energy has not left us. So a lot of the things that human beings do right now come from our ancient ancestors. It's their unresolved stuff, and which is why a lot of them are back here now on the planet trying to fix everything, whether that's in a spiritual, non-physical form, an extraterrestrial form, or interdimensional form. It doesn't really matter, but people are energies and entities. Spiritual consciousness is coming back to fix a lot of this old stuff. And a lot of many people talked about the Atlantean and Lemurian model. Now, Atlantis and Lemuria are like yesterday's generations. We're talking ancient generations, though, for millions of years old. I think Atlantis was only like 13,000 years ago. I mean, it was yesterday. And Lemuria, 35,000 years ago, I think it ended. And who knows? And again, let's not worry about dates. But it's these ancient original seed races that were here fixing things now, because there's a lot going on. And again, we can get into all of that, but it can become a distraction. And that's why we just give a little bit of information about that, because we don't want to pulling every, we're not saying we're from Pleiades, we're from Atlantis, and we're from here and there. Yeah, we've all lived in multidimensional lives in all places. So yeah, we've all had a foot in somewhere. The point is the energies left over from those lives are what are trying to come through now, through our consciousness. And so the most important thing is not, yes, I was there and I did this, and feeding the ego. What you need to do is realize that there's still trauma from those lives, and that's what's trying to move through you now. And just be conscious in the moment of what you're feeling right now in any given moment. Because when you surrender to that feeling in the given moment, that's when you have the power to transmute it. And it's not even you. You need to get out of the way. Divine current will do it. The soul will sort it out. But you have to acknowledge it in 3D. So if you get fear coming up, you get despair, you get stress, or whatever it is, or sadness, you feel it. Now that can sit with most people all day. If you just give it acknowledgement and you say, hello sadness, hello fear, how are you, thank you. You breathe into it and you say to the mind, I don't understand where this is coming from. And that's good, because you don't need to understand it. And that tells the mind you don't need to understand it. And what will happen is divine current will then move through your body and it will start to transform. And sadness that could sit there all day will start to go within minutes in some people, maybe half an hour, maybe instantly. Generally, it will happen very, very quickly, because that energy is not who you are. It's just a byproduct of an experience that's ancient to you that you can't even consciously understand or remember. So why do you need to understand it? You do not bring your mind into what's going on now, because that will cause more confusion, more doubt, more fear. Now the mind and the ego, its consciousness is starting to break up. So there's going to be more panic. That's chaos. It's the chaos. At micro, macro level, we're experiencing it everywhere in our own lives, in our own mental fields, our own emotional fields, in our countries, in our relationships. It's all happening to affect this change. And it's also there to bring up the feelings that we've denied and repressed for eons of time. So again, yes, we're repeating ourselves in some ways, but we need to really integrate this information now and let it seed within ourselves and our consciousness. We just need to surrender to it. All right, guys, lovely to see you all again, and I will be back in about 10 days, I'd say. I'm going to do a video about every 10 days now at the moment, especially till the new year. And I'll just, like I said, intuitively, if there's something that we need to bring up, then I'll channel it through and share it on the group. All right, guys, take care. All the best. I'll speak soon.